What is power? Please write. Power is the ability. Power is the ability to get things done. To get things done. Especially when others might resist. Full stop. Especially when others might resist. Next, right? Change the line, right? It has three elements. It has three elements. Influence. We influence people. Like we have the social media influencers, right? Number two, control. And let's not forget, number three, decision making. Decision making. So influence, control, and ultimately we have to get people to decide something of which we want, right? The decision you feel is yours, but is actually coming from me. Like how you see, you can witness all these things in IR as well. Now, I can't claim it, we don't know, but what is happening in Nepal right now, there are various theories doing rounds. Some people claim that it is the US which is behind it, because people normally don't have such resources and such, courage to burn down the parliament and attack people, etc. They always claim, super great. They always claim something called deep state. Have you heard of this term, deep state? Right. Nowadays it's very relevant in our discussion. Deep state, everywhere. Something goes wrong, deep state behind it, right? You had a breakup, deep state behind it. A reference to, the Western powers which want the world to be unipolar as it is right now. Oh, as it is not right now, should we say. Anyway, so these three elements are important. Now see, while we keep on discussing these terms and topics, etc., how would an answer of PSIR or any optional paper be different from your GS paper answers? Because there are some optional which have an overlap. PSIR, sociology, for example. These optionals have a lot of overlap in GS paper also, right? So if I'm writing an answer in political science or maybe IR also, I also have questions in polity and IR in our paper 2, right? How to differentiate it? The differentiation comes from also a very important factor of quotations, writing quotes by thinkers. And I would prefer that you mug up those quotes also, right? And don't misquote. Like everything is now said by Gandhiji only. We won't do that. So I'll also be mentioning quotations and you'll have to mention in your answers wherever they are required. That's a deciding factor which immediately differentiates between a general studies answer and any optional answer. Clear? So next line please write, change the paragraph, it's a quote. Power is the probability. Power is the probability that one actor within a social relationship will be in a position to carry out their own will, despite resistance. To carry out their own will despite resistance. Okay, make sense? Give a dash and write Max Weber. M-A-X, Max, W-E-B-E-R. You'll hear of these people frequently, again and again. One more very interesting French philosopher, Michel Foucault. Michael Foucault is the actual name, but we pronounce it as Michel Foucault. So please write that as well. Power is not just held. Power, second statement, power is not just held, comma, it is exercised. It is exercised through discourse, comma, institutions and knowledge. And knowledge. And this person is Michel Foucault. It's pronounced as Foucault, so let's call it Foucault only, right? Cigarette Foucault, same kind, Foucault. Just for you to understand, don't write this in the exam, huh? Foucault. He was a French historian, right? Very popular historian of 20th century only, born in 1926. So Michael Foucault has given a lot of interesting concepts in political science. One such thing is defining power. In fact, Robert Dahl also says the same thing that we discussed initially. Somebody had mentioned that the ability to make somebody do something against their will, as simple as that. Now see, there are various types of powers also. I'll give you a term and you give me examples of it. One is coercive power, meaning based on force or threat. Any example? Coercive power. Has anybody tried to get out of their house during lockdown? No. Remember 5 years back, lockdown? We forgot all about it. Now, so once we came out of our lockdown, during the lockdown, we came out of our house, we had this very simple, soft-hearted policeman waiting for us with the lathis, right? Police action is a classic example of coercive power. Military force is a very good example of coercive power. Next heading, please write types of power. Types of power. First one, coercive. Your dash, based on force or threat. Based on force or threat. And then we'll write examples. Police action. Second one, legitimate. First is coercive, second is legitimate. Online people, if you have any concerns, you can raise your concerns. Legitimate means what? Based on law or position. So we'll choose a term, official position. Based on law or official position. Okay, example. Bureaucracy. Somebody else was saying something. Government, bureaucracy, Prime Minister, right? No? Or you also feel that, what is that? Vote chor, gaddi chhod. So, what is it that you are trying to achieve by this statement? If I can instill in your mind a situation or a scenario that you stop believing in the legitimacy of the government. That's the idea. See, these are all the actions that you see on ground are all backed by some political science concept only. Right? It is not a random vague statement. Because I have come to realize that people are not voting for me for whatever reason. Right? Maybe they find the thought process of this person very different or unique. He could be a great stand-up comedian, I'm sure, but not a great leader. So I will now question the very core concept of this process, that you are holding this post illegitimately. So I raise this concern, right? So anything that is based on law or official position, as somebody said, bureaucracy, example, Prime Minister, example, district magistrate, right? The permanent and the political executive, they're all holding this post through what? Legitimacy. And that is what has been done. Third is reward power. Very interesting as a concept. Reward. What's the meaning of reward power? Based on giving benefits. Dash, right? Based on giving benefits. Based on giving benefits. Example? Okay. UPSC preparation. Promotions in job. Subsidies are an example of reward power. Okay. It's based on giving benefits. Example, subsidies. Subsidies. One more power, whether you would agree or not, is based on expertise. Expert power. It is based on dash, based on knowledge or maybe skill, knowledge or skill, right? Example could be any kind of professional post, doctors, judges, economists, though in our country economists usually give a very weird kind of opinion, but still they are experts. So here people also hold authority, hold power by being an expert in any domain, and you have no other option but to rely on them and completely submit to them. So doctor, economist, etc. Maybe if you are genuinely or seriously ill, not the basic fever and all, because for basic fever, etc., and large types of diseases, you have your local chemist only. They'll help you out, right? Because our chemist is almost a doctor. He can prescribe anything except perform surgeries, and he would do that also if you allowed him, right? Thankfully we don't. For that we have to rely on the doctor. That is why when you go to a hospital and then they will trap you into all these tests, whether you need it or not, the moment an expert says something, you feel, oh, what if? And you willingly spend money on hundreds of tests, result of which is the same, that you are perfectly okay, go and study, but still expertise, right? And that is in modern day and age very, very important, right? And the last one, referent power. R-E-F-E R-E-N-T, referent, dash, based on charisma, right? Charisma, C-H-A-R-I-S-M-A, pronounced as charisma. Based on charisma or even moral appeal. Any example? If you see Gandhiji, for example, did he have coercive power? Of course not. Did he hold any post? Nothing. No post at all. Right? Reward, he could give no reward. Expert, he was expert in not many things, I would say, right? Largely nothing. Not an expert. But still, he did control the masses. Right? Way more than experts did. Right? So, example would be cult personalities, cult personalities. Okay, so in bracket you can write Gandhiji. Gandhiji is one personality. Okay, now change the liner, right? In political science, we'll discuss this word later on, political science, but firstly, right, in political science, oh, Varsha, teachers, oh, emotional, okay, yes, yes, yes. Teachers also are under expert, possibly. In political science, comma, power is often analyzed through, power is often analyzed through, number one, who has it? Who has it? Question mark. Number two, how is it used? How is it used? Number three, how is it legitimized? And number four, how is it resisted? Okay, so first thing is clear. I mean, of course, who has it, right? What's the second thing? How is it used? For what purpose is it being used? The third one, how is it legitimized? How does the power become legitimate? In your opinion, how does power become legitimate? What would you call illegitimate use of power? Wrong use of power.
Against the law.
Against the law. So how is power legitimized? How do we make it legal for all, acceptable for all?
Through legislation.
Through legal methods, like winning the election. We follow a proper process, give people a fair chance, and then if we win the election, then I hold the power in a very legitimate fashion. Yes. So that is why I said, when you want to delegitimize something, question the very process only. If I can't clear the exam, I'll say UPSC is a bogus institution. It does not take the exam properly. You question the core concept only. Those who are getting selected, I don't know how they are managing it. It's all cheating. Simple. And what's the fourth point? How is it being resisted? So how can power be resisted? See, there should always be scope for reform. Any institution that ends scope for reform, scope for questioning, is of course going against a very basic idea, or rather goes in a direction of misuse of power. That's the beginning of misuse of power, when you stop people from questioning it. So the bigger study of power is also to ensure that anyone who has power right now, there should be some genuine scope or area to resist that power. You can see in all these cases, there will be some scope for resistance. Even in coercive power, there will be scope for resistance. Standing up to the might of people, of the police action, maybe courts can offer resistance. In case of legitimacy, we have laws. We can make laws, change people, remove people through elections, remove governments. Reward, again, the same idea. We can ourselves be eligible for rewards, remove subsidies. For expert, it's very simple. You become a bigger expert, you question the existing power. Charisma also. If you are able to somehow make impress more people, you are the new social media influencer, right? So recently, today, that's the beauty of aspirant. If you put up any video and you see videos on discussions happening on important UPSC topics, you'll have limited views. Even the best of best, 70, 80,000 views and all. Because the more complicated the concept, lesser the views. But recently I saw, let's not name any organization, they were introducing their faculty. Faculty introduction. I think it was around 3 lakh views. 2 hours of just introducing the people who are coming in the car, slowly getting down, drinking water, etc. That's it. Audience will sit and watch 2.5 hour video, right? Just for this. Influence. That's the beauty of it. Anyway. Now, this is of course basic understanding of power. Sometimes you might have quite extreme views also on power. Radical, right? Extreme views on power. Next heading please write. Radical views on power. Radical views on power. First point. So these are all various ideologies. Right now you don't need to worry about what they contain or what they mean, but slowly we'll get to understand in detail on what these ideologies actually mean. So Marxists believe, write the subheading, number 1, Marxists. Below that please write, power comes from control over economic resources. Power comes from control over economic resources. That's the idea that Marxists believe in. That whoever gets to control the factors of production, you know factors of production? That same old land, labor, capital and entrepreneurship. Whoever gets to control these resources, he gets to control power. That is why we always focus on, or not we, Marxists focus heavily on this aspect. That if you somehow are able to control money, resources, then you will control power, like the very famous businessman in our country, right? The A's of the industry. Why should I name anyone? Live recording, risky. So no, frankly, they are the richest people of course in the country. They do control resources and they do command authority and power. They can make singers, actors dance in their weddings, actors serving food in the wedding, right? Have you seen videos of that? International stars are coming and dancing. That's the beauty of money. In fact, Marxists say that they have a very radical view on this. Why I say extreme view is that they say that state, you know what is state? We'll discuss shortly what is state. State and laws are meant for the bourgeois to control the proletariat. Who is bourgeois? Have you heard of this term called bourgeois? Capitalists, rich, owners, bourgeois. We are all proletariat. Okay. So, bourgeois, the rich people, are going to control the weaker. And the state and the laws are meant to ensure this control. A very radical view. Do you think this is true? Maybe sometimes, but not always. How can this be a consistent statement? That is why we say that Marxists and such people hold a very radical view, extreme view, that they feel that no, the institutions exist only for Ambanis and Adanis. Then we have these terms, suit boot ki sarkar. What is that? That's a Marxist idea. Okay, so when you constantly see, that is how you can also understand the political philosophy of any party or a group. I might claim, let's say, the innocent bachelor Raga. You know Raga, right? He might claim he is a centrist because Congress claims to be a centrist party. But if you constantly attack certain big businessmen and question everything they do, and you constantly claim that there is something called crony capitalism. What is this word crony capitalism? Crony capitalism has a very strict definition. It simply means nexus between state and, or should, let's not write state, let's directly write the word politics and business. Crony capitalism. Everything that the government does is for the benefit of rich people only. This also shows that you are not just a centrist or liberal, you hold Marxist views, right? It's a very easy tool to decide or decipher what kind of ideology you hold. Again, implementation of this in daily life. So when politicians make statements, you can gauge through their statements of what ideology they actually hold. Okay. Please add the next line in the same Marxist heading only. It believes that state and laws, it believes that state and laws exist to protect the power of bourgeois, right? bourgeoisie. bourgeoisie pronounced as bourgeois. Okay. In bracket write rich capitalists, owners, etc. So what did I say? State and laws exist to control to protect the power of bourgeois over the proletariat. PROLETARIAT. Bourgeois proletariat. In bracket, please write proletariat. Working class. Proletariat. Working class. Okay. So this is the radical view that they hold, that the entire institutions exist only for one purpose. And what is that purpose? Protect rich and elite, that's it. Okay. Though that is not true, but still that is the very radical view that they hold. Okay. Also, see sometimes, or this is again Foucault's view only, Foucault says that we are all subject to power and sometimes we don't even notice that we are being controlled by external force. Can you give me any example of this factor? State, but we know that there is a state, right, and it is keeping us in check. But yes, I mean that can be one more accurate example of what actions Can you give me examples of some actions? No? Have you heard of panopticon? How do we come out of it? No. Exit, but let's hope. How will you open the board now? Note 5. Okay. I'll have to show you. You would know. See, this idea is that you'll have a prison cell, but at the center of the prison you have a watchtower. Now the watchtower has translucent or opaque glasses, images, something like this, or maybe like this. All prison cells around. Okay. At the center you have watchtower. Now this will have all glasses. So outsiders can't see what is inside. People inside can see what is outside. Okay. Now it was said that all the prisoners would behave properly. Why? Because they don't know whether they are being watched or not. What if you are being watched? Even if the guard inside is sleeping. But we don't know, right? Like the CCTV camera. You want to go in a shop, maybe steal something, or maybe you want to show some PDA, public display of affection, with a loved one somewhere, but CCTV is there. So you behave yourself that no, I should not. If I get too cozy, holding hands, etc., it might become a new video, viral video. We don't know. Nobody is watching the CCTV. Trust me. This doesn't mean that you do any nonsense, but nobody is watching it. But we have this fear in our mind. We are constantly being watched. School discipline, that is how it is inculcated. We say God is a best or the cheapest babysitter. We instill this feeling in kids. God is watching. Don't do anything wrong. Yes or no? Cheapest babysitter. I have to sit and waste time. I'll rather say God is watching you. So don't do anything wrong. And this is also very invisible example of power, which exists in society also. We follow traffic rules because what if there is some constable at the signal? So before the signal, you keep your helmet on immediately. Signal is over, helmet out. Because we don't know. This was Foucault's idea. In fact, Foucault said that power is everywhere. Power is in language. Power is in knowledge. Power is in norms also. I'll explain how power is in language. Write the next second one. So after Marxists, we will write now post-structuralist. Just write this for now. Post-structuralist. Oh, great. I don't think this was the board, but I'm using something completely different. STRUC, structuralists, post-structuralists. Now below this write, power exists everywhere. Power exists everywhere, dash. Language, comma, norms. Comma, knowledge. Power exists everywhere, norms, knowledge, and even language. Please give me an example. Power exists in language. Something else. Think differently.
Mother tongue or another language. Diplomacy.
Okay, diplomacy, mother tongue over. So, how do you exhibit power through language? For example, see, I'm an outsider to this city or the state also. I don't speak the language here. So, if you have to exhibit that power in front of me, you start talking in your native language. I feel powerless. You can do this, of course, but then what is the point? That's also a very simple way. If I ask you here, do you have girlfriend or boyfriend? That's also power through language, because I am denying the very existence of a homosexual relationship, possibly. Yes or no? When I ask, what does your father do? And the focus is on your father earning and not your mother, I'm again, in a subtle way, saying that the decisions are taken by the male members only. In a subtle way, I am saying that, see, that's how world works, right? Patriarchy. As simple as that. If you come here for admission and say, did your father approve of it? That's also a very subtle way to showcase that, see, father's approval matters. Did your parents approve? Neutral term. Father approve? We know. Subtle ways of showing how language also embeds power. Who actually gets to control everything? Okay? That's it. And of course, norms and knowledge is something we understand very well, right? If somebody has knowledge, for example, say UPSC syllabus also. UPSC syllabus focuses on what? Knowledge as power. If you have knowledge, more marks. If not, less marks, right? So this is the idea of power. Now let's move on and write the next heading. What is politics? What is politics? So yes, this subject would require a lot of note making, which I normally avoid in the GS papers because it can be managed without a lot of notes, but here you have to have your own separate notes. And if possible, if let's say this is your page, then maybe leave some room. Don't draw a line, but leave some room for later editions also. That should be an idea, right? Don't save pages. Your career is way more than this wasted space. I know you might have this Greta Thunberg in you that I have to save green paper, go green, etc. But save some space on the side so that we can later on add things as and when we want. What if you, while going through PYQs, find out, okay, that's from this topic, I had a PYQ in 2018. So I will write PYQ 2018, right? Some space needs to be left. Okay. So yes, now the next heading is, what is politics? Tell me, what is politics? Politics is about power, frankly. Who gets to decide, who gets what, under what conditions, that is politics. Please write a definition first. Politics is the activity. Politics is the activity through which people make, preserve, and amend the rules under which they live. Rules under which they live. Next point. It is the process of making. It is the process of making collective decisions. Underline this phrase. Collective decisions. It is a process of making collective decisions involving power, authority, and negotiation. And negotiation. So again underline power, authority and negotiation. Three important keywords. Okay. Power meaning what? Who holds influence, who holds control. Yes. What is meant by decision making? How choices are made. What about negotiations? Negotiations on conflict, resource allocation, right? Meaning who gets benefit, on what basis are we allocating resources, what are the bases on which we allocate resources to people, based on what? Need. Need would be a very wide term. Something more narrow? Representation. Okay, democracy direct. Affirmation. Affirmation can also be in multiple kinds. What? Do you base it on this or economic situation? As he said, based on what term used? Representation. So do we also base it on population? Right? So yes, allocation can be based on caste, maybe on population, but we focus more on this, right? As some of you said, need. I feel you wanted to mention this only. Economic need, right? Caste needs might not be very accurate always. Sometimes it does. Maybe some caste group has faced atrocities, so maybe it can also be done. A large chunk of population in an area is lagging behind. They are angry that all resources are being shifted to certain people only. I want my own area. Yes or no? Yes. How many are from Telangana? Raise your hand. Oh, Andhra Pradesh? Oh, very less people. Then I should support Telangana only. Okay. So I hope you understand that yes, all these factors are there. Just change the line, right? Key elements include control over power, comma, decision-making ability, comma, conflict and cooperation. Conflict and cooperation. When I say conflict and cooperation, I simply mean to say what are the issues that we have and how they are being resolved, right? That's conflict. Like two states will have a conflict over sharing of resources, which could be water resource also, and how we are resolving that. So we make a tribunal for that and we resolve the issue. In bracket, right? Issues and resolution mechanism. Issues and resolution mechanism. Issues and resolution mechanism, close the bracket, and resource allocation. Resource allocation. Yes, Varsha needs Soumya. Which line to repeat? Please tell me. So key elements include what? Power, the ability to make decisions, cooperation and conflict resolution. Sorry, conflicts and cooperation, whatever, any form and manner you write. And lastly, resource allocation. Important elements with respect to politics. Now change the line and write Politics is, in quotes, right? Politics is who gets what, when, and how. Politics is who gets what, when, and how. Give a dash. Harold Laswell. He is a thinker who mentioned this. Harold Laswell. Yes. First and second line, what is politics? So please write, and you also check once again. Politics is the activity through which people make, comma, politics is the activity through which people make, comma, preserve and amend the rules and regulations under which they live. Okay. And second line, what was the next line I said? Politics is the process of making, this one? Politics is the process of making collective decisions involving power, authority and negotiation. Okay. So Harold Laswell beautifully put it. What is that? Power is politics is who gets what, when and how. Right. So this is the idea. Okay. Next heading now, please write, what is state? We're just knowing certain terms and we'll slowly get to political science also. What is state? Oh, not a good idea. This one is okay. Yes. India is a state? Yes. Telangana is a state. How? Why? How do you see India as a state? What is there some characteristic to calling something a state? Sovereignty. Okay. One element. When I say sovereignty, I mean what? The freedom to take decisions, internal or external. Okay. So any geographical area is called a state because it has sovereignty, meaning freedom to take decisions. What else? Okay. It has a structure for government, an existing government. What else? Population and boundary. Defined boundary, set population criteria, sovereignty and existing government. 4 features of state. Please write. A state is a territory. Okay, Varsha, correct. State is a political organization. State is a political organization that has, number one, fixed territory. Number 2, fixed territory. Number 2, permanent population. Number 3, government. Number 4, sovereignty. GNTY, not NITY. Sovereignty. Clear? Sovereignty refers to, I think you know, when I say sovereignty, I mean to say both internal and external. Maybe our central government has lot of external sovereignty, but internal is being questioned daily. How dare you? This is West Bengal. How dare you? This is Tamil Nadu. Next line, please write. A society united by laws and governed under one head. A society united by laws and governed under one head, in quotes. Okay. So that's also one way to express what is a state. Example of it would be, of course, India. Next heading, what is nation? Now tell me. Feeling based on what? India is a nation, right? Why? How do I have this feeling that you are one, we are one? Based on some features or factors. What do you think are those factors? Common territory. But then we are moving towards the definition of state only.
Common laws.
Common?
Laws.
And that's again the definition of state only. Then where is the feeling factor? Common religion. Okay. Values. Okay. Culture. Okay. What else? Lifestyle. Common history. Common history. Now, some of them may exist, some may not exist. That's all possible. So, a nation is more of an emotive thing compared to a state, which is a more practical and more political science oriented term. Heading right. What is nation? Please write. A nation is a group of people key elements. Raghu, what key elements were you mentioning in the notes? Did you mention some key elements somewhere? Oh, key elements of politics. So, what are they? Control over power, decision making ability, conflict and cooperation, and resource allocation. 4 key elements. Okay. I hope Raghu, it's okay. Huh. So nation, what did I dictate so far? Nation is a group of people, please write, who share and subpoints. Who share, number 1, common culture. Common culture. Number 2, language. Number 3, history. Number 4, religion. Ethnicity. Sense of belonging, etc. Sense of belonging, etc. Okay? Clear? A lot of these elements are also there in India. Common culture, history, right? Language might not be there because we have multiple languages. Again, if you look at religion, large population has a common religion, but still we have a diverse religious base also. But we have a sense of belonging, right? So India has elements of nation and of course clear-cut elements of state also. Hence India is what? A nation state. Next heading. What is nation state? What is nation state? A nation state is a political unit where a nation state is a political unit where, and subpoint, first subpoint, where the boundaries of state and nation Sub-point, first one, boundaries of state and nation overlap. Second sub-point, the people in bracket, right, nation, close the bracket, the people are governed by a common political system, are governed by a common political system, in bracket state. You know, a perfect nation state, of course, very hard to find, right? But some people claim, and that's true to a large extent, that Japan is largely seen as a perfect nation state, historically also, right? India is more like a multinational state, right? Though India is a nation state, but a lot of our thinkers believe that India is more of a multinational state. Why? Because we have a lot of nations inside this, based on language, religion, etc. Sometimes, you know, you have stateless nations also. A very good example, Kurdistan, stateless nation. I mean, the idea is that there's a common group of people sharing common ancestry, ethnicity, culture, etc. But they are part of various countries now. Kurdistan is an example of, right, stateless nation. Stateless nation. Stateless nation. So, Southeast Turkey, Northwest Iran, just keep on mentioning in bracket, comma, North Iraq, so at Syria also, Northern Syria, so Northern Iraq, Northern Syria. If you look at all these areas, Kurd people are found there. They all share common ancestry, history, culture, but they don't have a country for themselves. Nation, but not a state. Stateless nation. That also exists, right? Now, one more term that we do use, but it is a more casual use, I would say, is what is called a country. Okay, so country is more of a geographical and an emotional term than actually a practical term. Just below all this, make a star mark and write. Country is more of a geographical term. Country is more of a geographical term which refers to a region that has government, but is not necessarily RALY, necessarily a legal entity, but is not necessarily a legal entity. Okay, so in political science, the correct term is state. Don't use country. I mean, of course, you can claim India as a country, but when writing answers, state is a term that we use. Okay. Marxists have a view on state also. They feel that state is a tool of ruling class to maintain control. That's the idea of a state. They say state is a ruling class that is meant to control people at all costs. That's one view on state. You can just write this also. Next point, change the paragraph and write. Marxists believe that state is not neutral. Marxists believe that state is not neutral and is a tool of ruling class, and is a tool of ruling class to maintain control. Tool of ruling class to maintain control. Okay. Then we have feminists. Now, we'll discuss these ideologies later on, but just to clarify, who are feminists? Not the ones you see nowadays, right? Feminism is a positive word, and let's not get confused by the YouTube shorts and Instagram reels on feminists. Okay. So, what do you mean by feminist? Or who are feminists?
Who advocates for the rights of women?
Yeah, who believe in gender equality. Simple. Not the ones who believe that men should suffer. Gender equality, neutrality, right? We want to focus on equal opportunity. Nobody should be deprived based on gender. That is the idea. So next, write feminists. Feminists. In bracket, write those who advocate for gender equality and challenge systems. Those who advocate for gender equality and challenge systems that privilege, privilege, privilege men over women. Close bracket. So we started. Feminists believe that, now right, continue, after the bracket, continue. Feminists so believe that state appears to be neutral but reproduces patriarchal values, What is patriarchy? Patriarchy means a system which is male dominated. Simple. Simplest words, patriarchy means any system which is male dominated, where important decisions are taken by men, is a patriarchal system. So feminists believe that state seems to be neutral, but it somehow supports or tries to instill patriarchal values. Example, tell me. Any example of how state somehow or laws ignore? No, that would be giving you the example. You tell me examples first. I'll give you hints later on what.
Having gender-neutral terms in constitution.
Okay, that is one example. Gender neutral terms not being used everywhere, right? Mankind, humankind, chairperson, chairman. Fair enough. That's also valid.
Recognition Different forces.
Okay. Till we had strict policies of recruitment for of only males in armed forces, right? Okay. What else? Something very common that you see in your house on a regular basis. Have you heard? Okay, Sarpanchpati, that's also there. That's more of patriarchy. State has not induced it. Society has induced it. But state was giving reservation, right? But society.
Patrilineal nature of family.
Okay. Patrilineal nature of family. Surname passes through father's family. Household chores that women do as housewives. Is it recognized as any kind of economy? No. Is there some money for it? No, it is given the term kartavya. Duty. Right? It's a duty. You have to perform. Of course, now we are giving it term like care economy. But where is the monetary value for it? We only have nice words, but no monetary value for it. Now, on a more serious aspect, domestic violence in the house space took so much time to be recognized as a crime. Till date, marital rape is not a crime in almost any country. Very few countries accept this as a crime, right? So yes, these are examples of how feminists feel that state appears to be neutral but somehow tries to push for these patriarchal norms in society, right? Example, domestic labor by women. Meaning household chores, domestic labor by women, comma, reproductive rights, comma, violence in private space, in bracket, right? Marital rape, marital, marital rape, because it is still not acceptable as a crime, though I mean, of course there are other issues involved in this, but still no country accepts this as a crime. That is a concern, right? So see how we have these concerns that people raise, that state may seem to be neutral and we may have a women oriented budget, but these things do exist. They run parallel and deeply ingrained somehow. As I said, we don't understand this also. Okay, maybe this is just normal. So we are constantly changing the new normal also. Okay. So we have this basic information. Now you can write the heading. Defining political science. Okay, legal heads of property, that's also true. Though, I mean, we do have equal inheritance rights amongst all religions now. So that might not be that serious a concern, but yes, it took some time for women to claim equal right in property. Of course, not to say that men don't have concerns. They also have their own set of concerns. For example, there are certain laws that are against men, like alimony. Okay, that's true, right? Maintenance, alimony, maintenance.
Domestic violence. Men can't make it as a
Under the relevant sections, men can't file a case, but they can file a case against assault, right? Basic assault, they can file a case, but men don't want to file a case of assault. Societal pressure, that's also a societal norm, right? No, some things like, let's say adoption. Single males cannot adopt a child in India. Now, of course, things can go wrong. We understand the reason and all, but If you have to mark laws, yes, there are laws, right? Till 5 years back, we had adultery, where only the men were punished committing adultery. Females were not punished. And what is the punishment for adultery? 2 years of jail. No, up to 2 years of jail, I should say. So if you are, adultery, right? Not adulterant, mixing bad things in food. Adultery means extramarital affairs. And Netflix tells us is correct nowadays. Same thing, adultery. Up to 2 years of jail sentence. But only for the man involved, not the woman involved. All these did exist, but yes, largely laws are geared against women only. That's also a reality. Okay, so now defining political science. First up, what is political? Please write. The word political originates from the Greek word polis, P-O-L-I-S, which means city-state, 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 which means city-state. Next, right? Originally, it referred to matters relating to community, public affairs, or governance. Next, right? So political means what? City, state. Science, Latin for knowledge, right? Scientia, Latin for knowledge. Now next, right? Political science has its origin in the Greek language, referring to the knowledge of affairs of citizens of state. Affairs meaning activities. Don't think those affairs. Activities of the citizens. That is the idea of political science, knowing about its people, its citizens. Next, right? In quotes, political science begins and ends with the state. Political science begins and ends with the state. Okay, so this is a very conventional definition. The focus is that state, right? Next, right? In quotes, political science is the part of social science. Political science is the part of social science which treats the foundation of state and principles of government. End of quotes. Paul Janet. Who is the father of political science? Any idea? Okay, Aristotle, because he talked about, man as a zoon politikon, man as a political animal, social animal. Man is a political animal, is what he believed in. Next, right? Father of political science. Dash Aristotle. Full stop. Below this, he considered man as a political animal. He considered man as a political animal. Okay, change the paragraph. Next, right? Mother of political science. Philosophy as a subject is actually considered to be the mother of political science. Mother of political science dash philosophy. PHILOSOPHY, philosophy. Till almost 19th century, political science was just considered as a branch of philosophy. It was slowly that we realized that there is a lot to understand and study in political science independently also, beyond philosophy as well. So it's a more recent branch or rather discipline in the study of social sciences. Okay, next point, right? Until the 19th century, PS or political science was considered a branch of philosophy. Was considered a branch of philosophy. Political science was considered a branch of philosophy. In fact, if you think of any of them, Plato, Aristotle, John Locke, Rousseau, everybody was a political, or rather should I say, philosopher first and political thinker later. Okay, firstly a philosopher. So it's only that we have now come to this understanding that yes, political science being a subject under philosophy has now come out to be a discipline in itself, because it requires that in-depth understanding, because the world revolves around these concepts only nowadays, right? Okay. One more small point to just ask you. What do you mean by a subject and what do you mean by discipline? Any idea? How do you differentiate subject and discipline? What's a subject and what's a discipline? Example? Don't use this only, political science as a subject earlier. Some other example. Is one discipline. Okay, that is correct. See, discipline is of course a wider term. It would mean an independent body which encompasses various topics or subjects of interest and study. Whereas if I say subject, it's a branch which is taught. Alright, so just write there subject first. Just below this star mark and write subject, give a dash. Subject dash branch of study taught under a broad category. Taught under a broad category. And then next is discipline. Discipline, branch of study. So subject is branch of study taught under a what? Broad category. Next is discipline. Please write. An independent body of knowledge. Independent body of knowledge with unique theories, unique meaning unique to itself, with unique theories and methods. Okay. Now below that write political science, next line, political science began as a subject. PS, political science began as a subject under what? Philosophy. Under philosophy, but evolved into a discipline. But evolved into a discipline with its own theories, comma, thinkers, comma, methods, and subfields. Subfields, like a very interesting subfield. So after subfields, bracket, which is a part of your paper 2 also, don't worry. Comparative politics. IR, international relations, all subfields of political science. Well, that is why we teach political science in paper 1. So to get to know and then move on to IR and understand why Trump is so crazy. Right? See, he is trying to act in his nation's best interest, that he thinks. Though that might not be correct, because he is after all not a politician. That's the difference between somebody who is a politician and somebody who is not. Because Trump only thinks through the money angle. Look at all the statements he makes compared to our Prime Minister or PM of any country. You never see rash statements from the Indian Prime Minister. However you are provoking the PM and the ministers here, we don't see loose statements being made, etc. At one point of time, somebody said in USA that India can only spend the forex reserves based on how we tell you to. No response came from this side. No problem. You keep on shouting. That's not how politics functions. So they also need some lesson on political science possibly before they join politics. That's true, right? Okay, next now move on. Conventional and radical views of political science. Radical views. Okay, yes, online people, all okay. You've lost nothing so far, relax. Was this light on before? Kya? Oh, maybe. Firstly, conventional views on political science. First subheading, conventional. We are referring to the more legal institutional view, right? Conventional. Please write, subpoint. Very easy to understand. Political science is the study of state, comma, governments, comma, laws and institutions. Second subpoint. Clear so far? Study of all these things. Second is focus is on constitution, elections, political parties, political parties, legislatures, etc. Okay, and now the critical part, third point. Often excludes family, comma, workplace or private life. Or private life. Okay. If this is the conventional view, then what is the radical view? Conventional view says what? Where is political science? It's a study of what? State, institutions, right? Laws. But radical view, the extreme view says that politics is everywhere. First point, please write. Radical view. Or the more modern view, right? Politics is everywhere. Politics is everywhere, dash. Homes, school, gender roles, culture, etc. Second one, it is associated with, actually this word is pronounced as associate, not associate. So just to clarify, we have been calling it associate, right? It's called associate, not associate. Just like this word, association is okay, but associate. What is this word? It's clerk. It's pronounced as clerk, but clerk, right? Anyway, it is associated with thinkers like feminists and Marxists. Feminists and Marxists. Next point, it questions the public/private divide. It questions the public/private divide. Public-private divide. Okay, so this is the difference between these two views. Now my question to you is, see, of course, when it comes to political science, we are focusing a lot on the state and the institutions, but how are these Marxists and feminists talking about politics being everywhere? Give me examples. Politics in school or house roles, how? Okay, one is the patriarchal situation, decision making authority is limited, so that becomes a concern.
Birth and family registrations.
Sorry?
Registration of birth and family. Marriage.
Registration of, okay,
So legitimate.
okay, that's also there. What else?
Formation of groups, associations.
Formation of groups and associations. Okay, fair enough. Beyond politics, or beyond the institutions, when you have these groups to force people to meet our expectations and demands, that's also politics, right? What else can be an example? See, something as simple as your school discipline, no? When I say school discipline, I mean you analyze the rule book, uniform, the attendance, ID card. What is all that? I mean, I was recently taking a class, I mean, not recent, just 2 days back after I became well. So I was taking a class in a degree college. They have some, that's a new norm nowadays. Degree cum IAS program, right? Not here, in a different city, Bangalore. And they had a college uniform for students. There was no freshers party also. They were so frustrated that we are all hoping that once we clear the school, we'll be Mr. Fresher, Miss Fresher, nothing is happening. And they are forced into wearing a uniform, no stylish dress also, no cool sweatshirts to wear for them. All their clothes are wasted. They had made a purchase before joining the college. Why do we have all these things? There is also a regulation, right? To inculcate certain values, of course. Whatever values we think are being inculcated with this. Some things make sense. Ensuring discipline, that's a very important part of life, but yes, this is there. Household chores, as we discussed earlier. Now again, people believe, at least the radicals believe, that who is cooking and who is cleaning, this is actually a power dynamic. It plays in the house. And that is why now we have the new emerging, should I say, a setup where both partners have to work equally. The good old days are gone for men, and for women, good times have begun. Don't worry. So you have to contribute now. Enough of saying, please bring the glass from the kitchen. Once you eat, the plate has to be kept by you inside the kitchen, and possibly wash it also. It might come as a surprise that you have to wash your own plate, which our moms are doing without asking any questions for so many years. That's again, this power dynamic exists almost everywhere. And the radicals believe that no, we cannot just focus only on one aspect, the government. If it exists everywhere, we have to study this everywhere. And with that same lens, right? Now some might question that this is getting too much into the personal space of people. It reminds me of, I don't think you have seen that movie. Though those movies are very common everywhere, in every industry. But there's a very famous movie called Hum Aapke Hain Kaun. It's a landmark movie in family drama. I'm sure there is some kind of similar movie here that exists. Because, the super hits of Telugu cinema are also those family dramas only. So there was one very interesting scene which has become very popular nowadays, where one of the person says that, I think it was Hum Saath Saath Hain, yes, one more similar such movie. He says that a happy family is one where men sit at a dinner table and women cook food with their own hands and serve the men of the family. That's what a happy family is. When women are in the kitchen and cooking and serving hot food, hot chapatis to men eating at a dinner table. That's power dynamics only, nothing else. Now we are raising questions at all these things. But just 20 years back, this is all not normal, I would say. This was what was the expectation. Power dynamics. And it exists in your office also. HR. Who is this fellow called HR? And what is his task? No, in company's growth and development, almost negligible. Has anybody worked in any company organization before? Or no workers? No one. So you would not know. But ask your friends who are in corporate sector. HR is a menace to society, according to them. Right? So, think of it. And when we say all these terms are very important, I say dress professionally. Have you heard of this term? Dress professionally. What is professional dressing? Jeans is unprofessional, but a pant is professional. Who decides all this? That's also politics. It's all a part of that dynamics, right? So radicals believe that, see, you have to understand and view all these through the lens of political science, because it exists everywhere. If you limit your discussion to only the institutions, you are going to ignore a large facet of society, which is daily life. There also political science exists, right? So I hope after this, not this session, but this entire class, you will have a better opinion on how politics works in your daily life also. If not in UPSC answer writing, at least in life. That way some subjects are very important to study. One is the Indian Constitution that Rahul Gandhi shows a copy of. Every Indian must study that. That is true, at least some parts of it. Also, some part of political science, sociology and philosophy needs to be studied by every individual, right? Which is very important for basic survival as well. Like there's a very popular book called Behave. I think everyone should study that book, even though it might take some time, effort. Not right now. Don't study right now. It's for human psychology. Okay, no need to study right now. Once you clear the exam, you should. Because when you enter the field, you have to understand how other human beings think. They might not be thinking like you. So you have to widen our horizon. Anyway. So as I said, we have some differences here. Please also mention below that the star mark. The objective of conventional view. The objective of conventional view is to study institutions, whereas the objective of radical view is to study the critique of power, the critical analysis of power, domination, and exclusion. And exclusion. See, radical views are, of course, informed by patriarchy, class struggle, critical theory. You know what is critical theory? Any idea? Critical theory? Have you heard of this term called critical theory? No? Anyone? Just a short note on this. We might come to this discussion in future also. So just below it, put a star mark, if possible a different pen, or different color. If not, don't worry, don't panic at all. What will happen? Will I get selected in the exam or not? It's okay. Right? Critical theory. Please write. In the field of radical view, it is an approach. It is an approach that first subpoint questions underlying power structures. It questions underlying power structures. Okay? What does it mean? It means not only how are institutions formed, but who benefits from it. Who is being silenced? Who controls real authority? So you can bracket, you can mention not only how institutions work, but also who benefits who is silenced not only who benefits, who is silenced, who is excluded. Okay. Done? Then it's an approach that second subpoint seeks emancipation. Emancipation. Just write cipation. It seeks emancipation. So what is this? Does it mean? In bracket. Aims to reveal and dismantle. Aims to reveal or dismantle ideological control. Aims to reveal or dismantle ideological control of media, culture, and education that reproduce domination. That reproduces, or that these things reproduce domination. As I mentioned the example right now of how cinema in a subtle way tells you what is the right way to behave as a man, as a woman, etc. That's just a way of putting in a sense of patriarchy, for example, right? And this is why the critical theory is very important. It starts questioning those things. It wants to also liberate people, freeing them from this thought process itself. When you start questioning how the education system, how media expects you to behave in a certain fashion, what is normal, who is a crazy person? Somebody who is not like others. Simple. So, like religion for that matter. If today I start worshipping this remote, that this is God, you will laugh at me. This fellow has gone crazy, right? That's what happens to UPSC faculty after some years. You might say all this. Wait. But if 10 lakh people more with me start worshipping this remote, then suddenly you are fools. You are non-believers, committing possibly a sin because you don't understand the beauty and power of this magical remote. Because this remote talks to me and the 10 lakh people. So collective conscience is what matters. That's the whole problem. If I can drive the idea in your mind, whether right or wrong, that is secondary, right? If majority supports the idea, that becomes the norm. So who is crazy after all? Who is not normal? That's why we say he is not normal, because the norms are set by society, right? Till 2-3 centuries ago, homosexuality was not normal, right? Transgenders were not normal. Now it's all normal. Norms are a very unique word that are instilled by society, and they keep on changing, which also is the third part of our critical theory. You have to also understand power structure. You have to seek emancipation, liberation of people by making them realize how things control you. And you also have to ensure that we tell you what is right and what is wrong also. Intervene to not just study What is power? But what is right use of power? What is wrong use of power? Intervene normatively. Third one. Approach that we have mentioned there intervenes normatively. Intervenes normatively. So here you can write norm means setting examples. Right in bracket, describing not just what is a society, but also pointing towards its transformation. Its transformation. Dash what it ought to be. What it ought to be. Not just what is a society, but what a society should be like. Okay. Okay. So, to give you a simple example, I think Rajiv Bhargav has, in his works on secularism, talked about this idea. Think of it. In our country, missiles are named like what? Agni, Prithvi. You are not Hindi speaker, for example. Would you have preferred if the missiles etc. are named in some Telugu word, possibly? Right? Or maybe Tamilians would feel a Tamil word. Or people who don't follow the Hinduism, they would prefer in some other word, right? You understand this point? So that is why we say that rules, norms, societal structures, they are based on exclusion only, somehow. And we have to realize this first, that what exactly is the power structure, and also seek to make people realize it, and ultimately tell people what it should be like. Now, of course, Rajiv Bhargav has given various theories, and he says that we should have something called UCC, Uniform Civil Code. That's the first step to complete segregation of state or state's bias, though having UCC in itself will not make any difference, just to clarify. You know UCC, right? Uniform Civil Code. Having UCC might not make any difference. But that's what he believes. That the first step to creating complete equality and equal distance is to have a UCC. Standard norms for everyone irrespective of your religion. That's what he believes. We have our own problems in UCC. UCC is not a perfect idea because UCC believes this word U in itself is a problem. Uniform. Uniform never includes unity. It focuses on everybody having a uniform structure. It might never be able to eliminate any kind of disparity, right? Uniform discrimination will happen now. That might also happen. So again, one of his ideas is slightly bogus, but yes, largely what he says is true, that we can see existence of power dynamics everywhere. We can see the existence of dominant groups everywhere. You might not notice it because you are a part of it in most cases. Simple. Or you have been forced to realize that that's how society functions, and if you are not a part of it, you are simply an outlier. You are simply somebody who is not normal. That's it. Today, if you don't believe in the idea of a nation, you are an outlier, right? You have some problem. If yesterday it was an India-Pakistan match and you did not clap at India's victory, there is some problem with you. What if you had no interest in cricket? You have no interest in watching 10 people running after a ball randomly. That is all possible, but no. So again, slow, subtle ways which you have to identify and also understand. Okay. And as Marxists have also constantly told us, they have reminded us, you see, it's all about class struggle. Once we study ideologies, we'll understand that Marxists have their own problem, and they focus on just one idea, class struggle, all the way. They feel there is only one problem, rich versus poor. Though we have come to realize, in fact, feminists are a very good example of this concept that there are other issues also beyond rich and poor. Maybe think of a rich woman versus a poor man. They might not have the same circumstances. So issues go beyond rich and poor. But that's the feminist point of view. Okay. So below this was just a side note to help you understand critical theory. Now write next heading. Marxist view on what political science must study. Marxist view on what PS, political science, must study. Must study. Number one, how the capitalists, all right, how the capitalist state sustains class rule. How the capitalist state sustains, continues class rule. Number two, revolution and overthrow of such capitalist structures. Revolution and overthrow of such capitalist structures. Number three, ideological control. Ideological control. In bracket write media. What else? Okay, culture. So some tool. No, you're giving me examples. Like media is a tool. Okay, pressure groups. That can be there. Pressure groups based on religion, caste, etc. What else? Education system, right? So media, comma, pressure groups, education, etc. Three and the fourth one. Economic foundations of law and rights. Economic foundation of law and rights. In bracket, right? Example, private property. So Marxists feel that this is what political science should study. Focusing on how the capitalists have continued to sustain this class rule, right? Or also possibly, how do we find a way to overthrow the existing system? Dismantle everything. And then finding those tools that are being used to control people, that they feel is control. I'm not saying this is right or wrong. For example, loving your country or nation, it in no way is wrong, but that's a tool that is used to accumulate people to work for the benefit of the country. And of course, we have to also understand this entire economic concept, right, of how resources are managed by people, private property, etc. That's the Marxist focus. That's what they want in political science. Now the feminists, what they want. Next one, please write. Feminist view on what political science must study. Feminist view on what political science must study. Number 1, power relations in the household. Power relations in the household. Okay, it is my house. Have you seen or heard the male member saying, my house? That's a power dynamic. Number 2, state policies that affect women, state policies that affect women disproportionately. Disproportion and then ately, A-T-E-L-Y. Third one, absence of women. Absence of women in legislature, judiciary, and bureaucracy. Though recently we have seen more toppers being women only, in bureaucracy at least, right? But yes, legislature, judiciary largely. You recently saw or must have heard of this upcoming Chief Justice of India, Justice B.V. Nagratna. So, you know what is the collegium system? Those who have not studied polity would not know, but roughly collegium system, right? System of appointing judges. So recently one judge made a concerned remark on elevation of a judge from Patna High Court. And one of her remarks was that why are we elevating more judges as men judges only, even though after she leaves, the Supreme Court will not have a single woman judge. So that was one concern. Of course, she had other concerns also regarding the seniority and stuff, but that is secondary. She also raised this concern, which is very much visible in the Supreme Court, right? Less than 4% of the Supreme Court judges so far have been women. Since 1950, 4%. That's a very small number, of course. Okay. And the fourth one, we had 3. Fourth one, how laws are written. How laws are written by men. How laws are written by men, comma, for men. By men, for men. So yes, that's what the feminists expect. Just below that, in quotes, please write, the state is male. The state is male in that it sees, the state is male in that it sees women as, passive citizens. Carol Pateman, just give a dash and write. So she says that the state is male because it views women as just passive citizens. Okay. There's a very interesting, though harsh, quote that feminism is a radical notion that women are people. Feminism, they say that is a very radical notion. When the concept came out first, they said that feminism is a very radical, extreme idea that women are also human beings. Please treat them as human beings. That is again a very harsh way to say that so far they have been ill-treated completely, right? Write one more statement, and I would like you to think on this. Please write in quotes. The personal is political. The personal is political. This is a small task for you. In around 50 words, write what you think of it. Okay, just 50 words, not more than that. Okay, what is meant by this without ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, whatever you are using, without that. Just think. It's on feminist concept only. To give you a small go ahead, it simply is a reference to the idea that whatever happens in the personal space is also political. To give you a head start on where to think, in what direction to think. And whatever happens in personal space is also political. The power dynamics in the household, as I gave the example of, it's nothing but just an explanation of this very, very famous quote. Okay. Now, we do have time, but not for complete discussion. See, there is also this view that we have for post structure lists, as I had mentioned here. You can write that also. We'll just finish that in 5-6 minutes and it'll be done. Please write the next heading. Post structure lists. Post view of political science. Okay, again, detailed discussion on this group later on, but just a rough idea. They believe that politics is not just, they believe that politics is not just in institutions, but in language, comma, symbols, comma, identities, and discourses. Discourse meaning discussion. And discourses. Full stop. Continue. What we think is normal. Full stop. What we think is normal is often socially constructed. What we think is normal is often socially constructed to benefit dominant groups. To benefit dominant groups. Okay? And now next subheading under the same topic. What political science must study according to them? Subheading. What political science must study according to them? So they are defining the core concept only of everything. So their first concern is, first point please write, who defines what is political? Who defines what is political? That's the biggest question. How did you get to define all these things? How did you get to define this is the normal definition? This is what is called normal. That's my first question. Who gave you the authority to decide for all of us? That's number one. Second point. How language creates truth and erases alternatives. How language creates truth and erases alternatives. When you modify your books, as we say, textbooks, etc. Earlier, the history glorified that everything in the country that you enjoy was because of Mughals. Now books say that every suffering that we have is because of Mughals. The reality is somewhere in between. I'm sure they had something nice to contribute, and it is not that our survival depends on them only. There were other kingdoms, other princely states, collective contribution. Earlier, everything else was zero, hero. Now this is zero, others are all hero. Why? This is a concern. So that is the use of language to constantly erase truth or maybe create truth. And third one, decentralized forms of power. Decentralized forms of power. So what political science should study is who defines what is political science. Secondly, how language is used to create truth and narrative. And third is what? Decentralized form of power. In bracket example, in schools, comma, workplace, etc. In schools, comma, workplace, etc. Close the bracket. Okay, decentralized form, we gave the examples of dress code, etc. That's all influencing, controlling, coercing you into following a norm. Just below that, put a star mark and write, politics is no longer in the parliament. Politics is no longer in the parliament. It is in language. Full stop. It is in language, comma, labels, labels meaning tags you attach to people. Somebody is labeled as a terrorist in labels, comma, surveillance, surveillance meaning you survey, keep a track of somebody's activities. In surveillance, and silence. And silence. Full stop. And as Michel Foucault said, that wherever there is power, there will be resistance. That's the idea. Okay. Let's end our discussion here only. Tomorrow we'll continue from the same point. Right now, I just wanted to go back home, revise what has been written by you 2 to 3 times. That's it for now. Don't look into the syllabus right now. I will discuss syllabus. Okay. Let me discuss that, please, on my own free will. And I will tell you what books to read. Don't jump to reading anything on your own. Okay. So at one point of time, I will give you some handout for you to read. Those will be nothing but just some printout from some books, pages of that. Selective only. Clear? So please don't be overexcited, because that's what happens in preparation. First few days, full preparation, full research. Day 6, no research. So we want consistency, and optional classes go for a long period of time. We are here for almost 4-5 months. Okay, long period. So we have to also tolerate not just each other, but the subject also. There might be boring situations, interesting situations, something which relates live, something which has no correlation, etc. But understand, we are here not for research in political science also, but to get good score in examination, right? So that should be in mind always. And for that, we'll gradually follow a process. Okay? That's all for me. Jai Hind. If you have doubts, please ask me any queries, concerns that you have.